Caitlin says, "Hey, Eric." Eric says, "Hello."
Émoticône riant de toutes ses dents.
Huckleberry says, "Hey Eric, smiley face."
Eric says, "Hiya, Huck."
Hello, everyone.
Hopefully I didn't miss anything yet.
Phew. Oh, wow.
Donnie spots an Eric. Eric says, "Came straight here from a user group meeting."
Hello, Safia.
Alita says, "This is my favorite
Hello,
series."
Huckleberry.
Moi says, "Hello."
Good to see you.
It's good to see you again.
And you. Can I just do I know we did a sound check earlier on, but just going to check everyone can hear me. I know a couple of people were saying earlier on that they couldn't.
Katori says, "Yes."
Right, I'm standing in the back and I can hear you.
Mira says, "Yes."
Fabulous.
I can't hear Huckleberry at the moment.
Katori says,
I think
"Hearing
it's
you
because
both."
I've just come in.
Lydia Decramorn says, "I can hear you."
Okay.
Sarita says, "It's far better now." Caitlin says, "I can." Eric spots a Donnie laughing face. "Hi, Safia."
Huckleberry says, "Okay, yes, others can hear me."
Lydia Decramorn says, "Fiona is just playing with sliders."
Yes, but I can't hear you, which is going to make things
Huckleberry
a little
says,
awkward.
"I can hear you,
Let
Safia."
me just do a quick relog,
Yes, laughing out loud.
Okie
because
dokie.
everyone else can hear you.
Yeah.
Ah! Suddenly
Oh.
I can hear you. Good, it just was kicking
Oh,
in.
good.
Caitlin
Ah,
says,
there you go.
laughing out loud.
Perfect.
Excellent. So, everything's set up?
I believe so.
Chantal says, "Ha,
And
second
And
life
that's
miracle."
an SL miracle.
Eric waves to everyone
I
he
know
missed.
Muse is live streaming this.
Yes, we've discussed it, and I'm happy for that
Discussed
to.
it. Good.
Yes, yeah, I'm happy for that to take place, and we'll and Muse and I will talk about maybe potentially taking the video down, but at the end of the fair, so that everyone has a chance to watch it. But we'll deal with that afterwards. All good now.
Okay. Fantastic. And I was going to say, if we can just let Muse stream tonight's event, because she and Huck have agreed about this. If other people can not stream, I'd be very grateful, but photos are always welcome.
Yeah.
Especially if they catch my most flattering side.
Safia, do you need me to pass the URL, the YouTube URL to you?
If you can pass it to Chantal, I'm going to
I
get
have
Chantal
already.
to do
Yeah,
it.
I've done that already. So just wanted to check that you didn't need me to send it to you as well.
All right.
Good. Okay, all sorted then.
Should work fine for Chantal. Right, so we will tell you when to start it, but let's first have a little introduction. Huck, can you explain what this new film is about? In fact, new series is about.
Yeah, this is very exciting for me because I've been working on this pretty much since since we released WAARHEID, which was back in December 2022, and actually, when we released WAARHEID, the movie, we also opened up a kind of tourable area, like a kind of an exhibit, which consisted of lots of the sets. So that exhibition was open until I think it was about the end of January, something like that, January 2023. And as soon as that exhibition closed, then that space, that kind of land space, was then used to start building the set for Hotel Victoria, because one of the challenges that I set myself for this new machinima project was that I was going to create all of the sets myself. I don't know if you recall, but in my previous two films, Stonewall and WAARHEID, I was kind of using in most cases I was using pre-existing regions and sims, science fiction sims, and so on. Whereas this time I wanted to have like that complete control, so I decided I was going to build that, and that building that set took, I think it was over a year. Kate will have to can back me up on that. I think it was more than a year it took for me to complete. 18 months, thank you, to complete that set. So but what I wanted to do this time around was to, instead of creating one long movie, I wanted to create like a kind of TV series, I guess. And so I got to work at some point last year on episode 1, and it took rather a long time to complete episode 1 because I was kind of getting back into the swing of things. But episode 2 is something I'm working on at the moment. I've got about one more scene to film in episode 2. All of the dialogue is recorded and most of it's edited in. So this is a 6-part series that I'm aiming to complete, hopefully by the end of the year, to show in 2026. And it concerns the story of a caretaker. This is how we would say in the UK, I guess a hotel janitor would be the American expression. Somebody who gets who is on by themselves in a hotel during the first coronavirus lockdown in the UK. So there's a slight historical aspect to it, and in fact it was inspired by real events, because I remember hearing on the news during that first lockdown the story of a caretaker who was alone by himself in a hotel, and that idea was very captivating for me to think about what that must be like to be in such a large place by yourself. And subsequent to hearing that story, I learned that actually quite a few hotel caretakers were in that exact position. It wasn't just a one-off case, that quite a few people were having to keep the taps running, basically. So yeah, that inspired me to write a story, and that's what I've been working on since January 2023. So it's been a long time in the making, and I'm very excited that other people are going to get a glimpse of it. A few people have seen some of the work done so far, but it's it's a number way less than 10. So I'm very excited to be showing it tonight.
Well, I'm very honoured to have been one of those under 10s.
Yes, indeed.
And it really is something that's very exciting.
Thank you.
I think it's interesting you've moved to the kind of more televisual format, which seems to be the way a lot of filmmakers are going.
Well, I mean, obviously, my primary interest is telling a story. As you know, I've written quite a bit as well, and so storytelling is my primary concern. But I'm also interested in the way in which we can engage people in that story, and and it's I think it would be stating the obvious to say that people seem to be engaging more with shorter form content than longer form. So I was thinking, well, a 90-minute movie is not something that you just just check out on YouTube. If you're going to watch a 90-minute movie, then you'll have scheduled time to do that. Whereas a 20-minute episode, on the other hand, that might be something that gets more of an impulse watch. So I thought it'd be interesting to see how the viewer engagement would be different for a sequence of 6 shorter episodes than something as long as the projects that I've previously done.
Well, shall we take a look then at this?
Okay. What's the procedure? Do I need to? I presume I need to enable media?
No, you don't have to do a thing.
Oh, okay. Well, even better.
Chantal will handle the whole thing now. And then she'll cue us all in. And she'll also give us the URL.
I'll have to click the screen. Okay, got it.
When it'll tell you when to click it when she's loaded.
Okay. Ah, yes, there we go. Okay. So, double click the screen to start?
Yeah.
Ah, there we go.
Coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades, and this country is not alone. From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home. You should not be meeting friends. If your friends ask you to meet, you should say no. You should not be meeting family members who do not live in your home. You should not be going shopping except for essentials like food and medicine. To ensure compliance with the government's instruction to stay at home, we will immediately close all shops selling non-essential goods, including clothing and electronic stores, and other premises, including libraries, playgrounds, and outdoor gyms and places of worship. We'll stop all gatherings of more than 2 people in public, excluding people you live with. And we'll stop all social events, including weddings, baptisms, and other ceremonies, but excluding funerals. I urge you, at this moment of national emergency, to stay at home, protect our NHS, and save lives.
Every tap, every day.
Every tap. Got it.
Every tap, every day.
Okay.
The last thing we need is a case of Legionella when we reopen. Let each tap run for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
And flush all the toilets.
Okay.
And when that's done, then there's a job list.
Yep. Got it on my phone.
Update the sheet when each task is done.
No problem.
I'll be adding more stuff to it.
Understood.
This is an opportunity, Mike. I want this place to shine like a new pin when guests return. Better than a new pin, a premium pin. An exclusive members-only pin. Other pins need to be jealous of this pin. Okay?
An enviable pin. Got it.
Are you quite sure you're going to be okay in there? By yourself?
Don't worry about me, Miss Tarkson. I like the peace and quiet.
Just don't go going batshit on me. Keep yourself busy.
I've plenty to be getting on with.
Well, you have my number. Every tap, every day, for 2 minutes.
bike needs sanitising. What about the buttons? Then again, button sanitisation is pretty much the norm here at Radio Wessex. Have you seen how many crisps Chris Weatherfield gets through between songs? Hello everyone, Bex Warwick's here. How are you all doing? How are you managing in all this strangeness? Fear not, we're here. We're not going anywhere. Let's work this thing out together. This next song goes out to all the hotel caretakers suddenly alone in their massive buildings. Has it occurred to you yet that you can dance naked in the function room? Top tip, turn the CCTV cameras off first. This is Red Jacket, and You Will See Me There, an oddly prophetic tune.
All you want, it's all around you. Emptiness, you always do. Don't be afraid, no one can see you. Now's your chance, nothing taboo. Take that step, no one will judge you. The world is shut, you are brand new. Everything's closed, catastrophe proposed. Action on the post, song to supposed. But it's alright, you can take again. It's alright, you will see me there. You will see me there.
You played my song.
I have to admit, it does rather suit the current situation.
You do know I wrote it about surviving Sundays, right?
Irrelevant. You know how the public love a retrospective, eerily prophetic piece of popular culture.
Thank you for saying it was popular. Are you in the studio now?
I haven't been in the Wessex studio for days. This is my lounge. I spent the weekend sticking up all these panels. Of course it was popular. Just think where the record sales for number 19 then would get you today.
18. Number 18.
If it hadn't been for the glam thing, you'd definitely be included in an 80s one-hit wonders compilation.
If it hadn't been for the glam thing, we wouldn't have been a one-hit wonder.
Well, this could be the song's second chance. I'm going to play it again tomorrow. I'll say I got requests for it.
Did you get requests for it?
I didn't get requests not to play it. Think about it, Spence. We can make this into the unofficial lockdown anthem.
Right. Sure.
I mean it.
And supposing you did get it some traction, someone would look up the band and then the whole thing would be out in the news again. I mean, it's right there on the Wikipedia page, second paragraph.
Aren't you supposed to be able to edit those things?
I am not going to edit the Wikipedia page.
Dude, your protestations of innocence fell on deaf ears back then because the public needed someone to punish in the lead up to Glam's trial. You've 30 years of no criminal record to point to now, and Glam's been destroyed. Stop assuming the worst, will you? This could be the big break you've been waiting for.
I had my big break. I blew it.
Well, I'm playing the song tomorrow, whether you like it or not. I'm going to talk to the other Wessex presenters about it too, and you should put together a track listing for a new album. Why the hell do you even write these songs if you're resigned to them never being played?
I was thinking about recording a track where the whole hotel is the recording studio. The radiators sound awesome when hit with a spanner.
Do it! Actually, that's perfect. Write a song about being alone in a hotel for lockdown. That's your follow-up single right there. When people hear that's your situation, the synchronicity with You Will See Me There will blow them away. You'll be the inevitable lockdown hero. Oh, you know what you should do? Film yourself performing in different rooms. They can splice the footage into the original video when it gets re-released.
I think you're getting a little bit ahead of yourself here.
So what else are you going to do?
I'd need to get back in touch with the other band members.
So, get back in touch with them. They can record their own lockdown clips. Everyone's got phones now, right?
You know, the roof of the hotel porch might make a good novelty stage if I could get one of the keyboards up there. I'm not sure how I'd film that though.
Order a drone from Amazon? Or you could mount your phone on one of the beach huts opposite.
The camera on my phone's rubbish. The drone's a good idea, though. How did you know about the beach huts opposite?
I think I stayed in that place once with my parents. From what you've been telling me, it doesn't seem to have changed much since then.
Christ, it's hardly changed at all. That's what keeps the boomers coming. It's like a perfectly preserved piece of their past. About the only nod to the 21st century is the free Wi-Fi, so guests can keep up with their Facebook.
I guess it figures they'd all be Facebook users. Seriously though, your Wikipedia page has more than one paragraph?
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Are you sure you haven't been editing it?
Like I'd edit it and leave all the scandal shit there.
Notoriety is better than obscurity, right?
You think I want to be notorious?
Dude, you have to work with what you've got. I'm not judging here.
He never let you go alone. He never left you on your own. He never wandered far away to his home. He liked to chase the stick you've thrown. He liked to be on every stone. He had a favorite chair, I call it Rex's throne. A dirty dog.
So there you go, episode 1. I think some people might be a little bit behind.
Yeah, give them a few minutes to catch up.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that is great. It's a slow start. It's fitting everything in place and dropping some intriguing hints. And I just love that.
Yeah, I was quite pleased with the cliffhanger ending, and,
Yeah.
and the silent way in which it kind of creeps in.
Yeah. I like the hints in the conversation with the radio DJ as well. That's intriguing, and obviously you want to go and check him out on Wikipedia.
Yes.
Have you thought of making a fake Wikipedia page?
I hadn't until you just said that. I'm not sure that the people at Wikipedia would appreciate that, but yeah, that would be quite fun.
Yeah, but you could certainly, yeah. You could make a web page that looked a bit like a Wikipedia page.
I could do, yeah.
As part of promotional material.
Yeah. Although, obviously, there's an allusion there to a backstory, which will kind of be revealed, kind of piece by piece. Yeah, good points, Fire. There is a ton of false stuff on Wikipedia already. True. So yeah, I don't necessarily want to reveal that story too quickly to people because obviously there's a couple of plot lines there which will gradually unfold.
Yeah. But I think it's an amazing first episode, and yeah, like Chantal is saying, we want the second episode as quickly as possible. But
well, that's the intention, really. That's what the hook at the end of episode 1 is meant to evoke. So that's good. Good to know that you want to know what happens next. Excellent.
It's a very good cliffhanger.
Thank you.
I have to say one thing that struck me, and this is going to sound awfully rude, is that you seem to have put on quite a bit of weight for that.
Yes, well, I mean, obviously he's a guy in his 50s, as am I. And I didn't want, I wanted to break away from the stereotyped SL kind of perfect physique type of thing. So yeah, I did go for I did a designer, as Kate says, a dad bod for this avatar. Interestingly enough, in episode 2. You get to see him when he was much younger, and obviously you'll have deduced from the conversation he has with the DJ that when he was younger he had a brief dalliance with a one-hit wonder. So you get to see him back in that period, and so I had to then I had to de-age the avatar, which I hadn't when I first designed the avatar. I hadn't figured that I would do that kind of flashback, but it became pretty obvious pretty quickly that I would need to do at least a couple of flashback scenes. So then I had to de-age him, which I think I did a reasonable enough job. Obviously you have to wait to episode 2 to see that, but the episode 2 is so the younger version of him is a lot more svelte, shall we say? But yes, for this particular episode, and obviously for the present time setting, if you like, he could do with losing a few pounds, shall we say?
Yes.
But then such is life, isn't it? That's real life. It's I wanted it to be as real as possible.
Gonna happen, yeah.
COVID kilos, yeah.
It was quite chilling hearing Boris Johnson's voice at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching that speech live, and I remember sense of disbelief. I think at the time we all knew that speech was coming. I think we'd known for a day or a couple of days that was the direction of travel. But I think we still felt that was impossible. That for that sort of thing to happen, for us to go into full lockdown. I mean, it was complete denial because other countries had gone into lockdown. We'd seen it already happening elsewhere, Italy in particular. But even so, it was still kind of stunning to actually be hearing that talk and to have that confirmation that that's it. We were all going to be in our houses by ourselves from that point onwards. So I thought that would be a good scene setter if that makes sense. And
yes.
Yeah, and obviously also let me just put that link in for Simeon just whilst I have it up on screen. Thank you, Chantal. And so and it's also, of course, it's I mean, I spent hours trying to make sure that the audio of that was kind of public domain. I'm still not 100% convinced that it is, but I know that any speech that's given by the Prime Minister, in the text of it is, and of course there were so many different channels carrying that audio that I don't think anyone could necessarily claim ownership of it. But I did upload the whole thing at one stage to YouTube very early on, just left it there for a while to see if I got any kind of copyright takedown, whatever, from YouTube. But fortunately, it all seems to check out. It was all fine. So I thought, that would be a good way of setting the scene at the start of episode 1.
I actually, listening to it, I was thinking this is kind of our Chamberlain moment. When Chamberlain says, I have to tell you, we are at war with Germany.
That's right. I agree. Yeah.
And it's sort of almost shocking to hear it again because it was so huge.
Yeah, it was. There was a sense of disbelief, and obviously I chose it via radio because one of the things that struck me fairly early on in lockdown was how, I mean, maybe this was just me, but it felt to me that radio was, to some extent TV as well, but radio in particular kind of felt like it became, radio has a number of roles, and one of those roles I've always felt is that of companion. That's your, the radio presenters that you listen to on a regular basis. They kind of become almost extended members of the family, and so one of the themes that I wanted to present through the episodes was this kind of the presence of radio in particular in this character in Spencer's life. It made a lot of sense to me that it would be presented as a kind of a radio broadcast as opposed to attempting to recreate the TV broadcast, which would have been problematic for obvious reasons. I don't particularly want to create a Boris Johnson avatar, but that's never been an objective or goal of mine. So the radio version, and then obviously I wanted to represent this notion of people then just leaving the hotel, which is what that initial opening scene was, which is all incidentally myself and Kate. There was only 2 avatars involved in that filming, and a lot of editing to make it look like a larger number of people.
It was a bit of a Hugh Grant moment then, wasn't it? Walking through Notting Hill Market.
Oh, good call. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that connection. Yeah.
Because you must have. It was very cleverly edited because it looked as though you were just moving continuously.
Yeah, well, we thought about a number of ways of doing it, and at one stage I was thinking about just asking for a load of avatars to turn up so that I could just film loads of people walking past. The problem is I mean, one of the problems is my internet connection. It's just not good enough. And you know, I mean, at one stage we did a kind of like a test with a couple of outs, and just having more than a couple of people was introducing lag, and you know, it just didn't work. And I know that if I'd had like 10, 20, 30 avatars on the region, it would have slowed me down to a crawl. And I wanted to do it in slow motion as well, which meant I had to film at a high frame rate. Technically it just wasn't possible to do it that way. So we had to resort to just 2 avatars, and yeah, it seems to work. It did require a bit of fancy editing, but nothing too special really.
What software are you using?
So I use
Ready.
Lightworks. I know that not many people have heard of Lightworks or use it, but I came in contact with it well before I started editing Stonewall. And it's you can get a free version. I have actually now purchased a version. Yeah, there is there is a version of Lightworks free, Lydia. The free version only saves up to 720p or something, and I wanted to be able to kind of like render it at full HD. So I did buy it wasn't too expensive actually. It was only about 50 or 60 quid, and it's also like a one-off payment, you know, like gosh, who does that anymore, you know, one-off payments as opposed to monthly subscriptions. But yeah, it does everything that I need it to do, and you know, there's a few limitations here. It's not very good at text effects, but I don't really need fancy text effects. Thank you, Muse. Yeah. I do know that 720p is technically full HD, but I think as far as YouTube is concerned, I think YouTube needs it to be 1080p, because now let me see if I can remember this right. So if you upload at 1080p, then it automatically kind of defaults to 1080p, whereas if you upload it as anything less than that, then you get a much kind of muddier kind of image. Muddy is not a great word, but yeah. So I'm not actually all that bothered about the step up in quality of 1080p over 720. It's just really to force YouTube to kind of render it at that kind of high level, the highest possible level of quality.
Vimeo actually uploads better, much sharper.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons we went for Vimeo with Designing Worlds.
Yeah. I've never really checked out Vimeo all that much. The one thing I've noticed is that if I click on a link to watch a Vimeo video, then it demands I sign in to see it, which it just feels like a little bit restrictive in terms of audience. Because obviously, yeah, you know, you can create an account. Obviously, you can. I think it's free to do that. But you know, people are sick and tired of having to, you know, register for, you know, new services, and I don't want to kind of create additional friction, really.
Yeah, it's tricky, but I think Vimeo sadly is moving in a more corporate direction, and you know, sees its market as being aimed at people in the business world, so producing those kind of videos, which is a shame, because I would like to see YouTube having a better rival.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that.
So, you're working on episode 2 at the moment.
Yes, so episode 2 is almost complete. I've almost finished filming it. I've got one more scene to film, which is another Zoom conversation. And if I'm honest with you, I'm you know, the Fantasy Faire has come along at a good time to distract me from doing that, because you know, the Zoom conversation is you know, that was one of the longest things to edit because of the whole synchronization of lip movements with the speech. So I'm kind of psyching myself up to do that. But once that's done, then the whole thing it will be filmed, and then one of the audience members here, Fiona, rest in bitch face Price, who's here today, did most of the sound effects that you heard on episode 1 there. So this for me is a big deal because for Stonewall and WAARHEID, I think I might have created a small number of sound effects myself. I know at one stage Kate recorded walking around in high-heeled shoes because I needed a decent high-heeled shoe sound effect. But the vast majority of sound effects that I used on both Stonewall and WAARHEID were things that I found on freesounds.org, and Lydia and Fiona have been offering for some time to do some sound effects for me, and so I sent off episode 1 to Fiona, and just it was a transformative experience for me, because not only did I get sound effects that were timed perfectly in terms of like with the vacuum cleaner, the way in which it changes speed from when you see the shot at the entrance of the bedroom to when you're seeing the overhead from within it. But also Fiona had actually kind of sent me one sound file that was the length of the episode with the sound effects inserted in the correct place. I've never had an easier job of putting in sound effects, but they sounded incredibly authentic, including Fiona also did the sound for the buffer, which it was highly challenging because I don't think either of us, well, I know I didn't have a buffer, and I'm fairly certain that Fiona didn't have a floor buffer either. That's been one aspect of the filmmaking which has been both a lot easier for me this time round, but also I think has given it a much more authentic sound than the previous work that I've put out there.
It's amazing what sort of a difference it can make.
Yeah, I mean it's the one of the sound effects that for me transformed. I mean you'll be familiar with this from your own machinima Safia, but one sound effect just totally transformed a clip. So it was the ballroom scene where he's hammering in a nail. So at that stage I hadn't recorded the drill sound effect, and so that whole scene was kind of silent other than the sound effects. But obviously up until that point I was very familiar with the way the clip looked with nothing on it, and that's fine. But then you add in that hammering the nail that Fiona did, perfectly timed again with the scene, and because of the slight echo that Fiona put on that sound effect, instantly the whole space just comes alive, and it's amazing the difference that a sound effect can make. That it stops being this 2D kind of animated picture that you're watching, and it feels like a three-dimensional space just because of that one sound effect. So yes, absolutely, it can have a transformative effect on the way that the whole thing feels.
That's wonderful. Yes, I agree. We've found that when we were doing the Black Mirror, we started off with very few sound effects, and then we started adding them in, and it was like, okay, yes, this is what we should be doing. Yeah,
definitely. I'm good to hear, Lydia. I think. And obviously the other thing which of course brings it to life is the speech, and in this particular episode you'll have seen that AJ has actually already recorded some dialogue for episodes 2, but in this particular episode the two voice actors, both here today, apart from myself of course, are Boo and Lydia, which again I was just delighted with the way both of their lines came across. And the moment you get that audio and you put it in and you start then piecing together the video. In Boo's case, I'd already recorded the video for that, which because obviously that scene we were both wearing face masks, so I didn't need to worry too much about the lip sync. So I'd already filmed that. That was actually, I would say, that was probably the hardest scene, the bit at the beginning where they're talking out at the front, because I had to deal with the animation of the cars and also the animation of the movement of the camera. So I used Rescene for that, which I know you're very familiar with. But I'm kind of not, I'm nothing like as familiar with Rescene as in all likelihood you are. So setting up that took me forever to work out how to, to time it and to get the cars going backwards and forwards and so on. So that took a long time to do. And then when I got to hear that, the conversation layered on top of the sound effects, it just I was really delighted with that. And then Lydia and I, we did there was something which I haven't done before, which was that we did that as that Zoom conversation as a live recording. So in most cases in the past, I've just sent people their lines and they send them back to me. But this time round, to get that sense of that greater sense of conversation and interaction, we've been recording those live. No, that's I didn't realize I hadn't said that, but yeah, that was the first, Lydia. Every other line and everything else that I've recorded has just simply been asking people to send me in their recordings and then me kind of piecing them together. But I think it's one of those things that I imagine people would assume people record their lines live anyway, but I just hadn't, and so we did it for this, and I think it worked really well.
Do you think you might carry on doing some live recording like that?
Well, Lydia and I have already recorded the lines for episode 2, so yeah, definitely. I think so. I mean, it's the challenge comes obviously when you're talking about the quality of microphone, and in actual fact, that's not something that I'm concerned about with Lydia, because I know Lydia's got access to decent quality microphone. But in this particular case, it didn't matter because I was going to be downgrading the sound anyway because it was coming out of a laptop. So there's always that challenge when you're recording live on either in Second Life or in Discord, that the quality won't be quite what you want it to be. But that wasn't an issue in this case.
Yeah, we tend to record live, and then it gets edited by Xander for Omega X, and he's very careful with the lip sync, so he will make every effort to match the lip syncing to the words that are spoken. He will sometimes get actors to re-record lines because they spoke for a syllable too long, so he'll tweak the line to get the syllable in.
Wow. So you record the video first, or how do you
Yes.
Right.
Record the video first, and then Xander will work on the sound afterwards and re-record where he needs to.
Really interesting.
Because
so
they will have been speaking the actual lines, so they should be roughly right. But sometimes, you don't switch off your mic in time and your lips continue to flap. And then he will put a tweak in. But of course, there's now the possibility of AI. And a couple of people have done really good things with just, mouth movements with AI.
So I considered doing that, and in fact, there was an AI which was not released but teased. It would have been about this time last year, I think it was. I'm just trying to think what it was called. Thank you. Oh gosh! Oh, it was released by Alibaba. That's right, and it was called Emo, and they released a number of clips where they'd taken still images, for example, the Mona Lisa, and animated them to I think to songs so that they were singing. And I was very taken by that and was wondering if I might use that. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting for it to be released, which it still hasn't been. And in the meantime, a number of other AI startups released their own lip sync products, none of which really grabbed me in the same way that the Emo had done. And so I kind of ummed and ahed. I didn't want to wait any longer for Emo to come out, and I'm glad I didn't now. And in the end decided to do it the old-fashioned way. But it's an art form. I mean, it's so bloomin' fiddly, you know. And I use a whole range of things to match up that. So I'll speed up the clip to make the lips move a little bit faster if I need the lip movement to end a bit earlier. And then the latest thing I've been doing, and I can get away with this because usually my avatars are static when they're talking, is to kind of run the clip up to a certain point and then to reverse the clip so that it's kind of playing up to a point and then it's playing backwards. And of course you don't notice the change from forwards to backwards, and that way I can kind of I can get a sequence of lip movement that fits the audio being said. Boy, does it take a long time to get that right, well, as right as you can manage it.
I was going to say you can do that as long as you don't have a water feature in the background.
Okay, yes, right. Yes.
Because if you have a waterfall going down, suddenly you reverse it and the waterfall's going up.
Yep. And I think there's a point in episodes 2 where I was trying to do the same. Thank you, Fire. I was trying to do a similar thing, and I realised that there was movement going on in the background, and I thought, oh, damn it, you know, I can't use that technique here. So you kind of you discover those things the hard way, don't you? Yeah, True Muse. Gosh, now you've got me worried. I'm gonna have to go and check for any
Sorry, lost
backwards
you for a
seagulls.
moment.
I was just saying, so Muse is, yeah, I'm now paranoid because one of the speech scenes in episode 2 does take place outside. I don't think there's any seagulls, but I do have a lot of seagulls flying around and on the set, so yeah, something to watch out for.
Seagulls in reverse, yes,
Yeah,
that would be a
definitely.
problem. Well, I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions now for Huck in the audience.
Wow, either, Eric. Both voice, fine, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was talking and I hadn't clicked speak yet. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Hello, Safia. Hello, Huck, and everyone. You know, I actually just had a question. So I know, Huck, that you know that I've been a fan of your both writing and especially your filmmaking for quite some time with Stonewall and WAARHEID and everything, and seeing it get attention in Supernova, now called Digerati, and other areas. I'm wondering for this series in particular, because it, albeit filmed in a virtual world, speaks so strongly to sort of a very human and non-virtual experience that, you know, a lot of people had during lockdown. I'm wondering what your plans are, or your hopes are, I guess, maybe, in terms of getting this to an audience beyond sort of the traditional Second Life or virtual world enthusiast audience, and having this maybe reach I guess a different public, or if you have any plans to sort of promote it that way, or if you've already maybe had some ideas about that, just in terms of getting this machinima shown to people maybe not as familiar with virtual worlds or SL in particular.
I don't have any. I don't have any yet. Largely because you know, this is the first time I've spoken about Hotel Victoria as you know, as as something that's been done, because in my mind it's not done. I've done episode 1. There's 5 more episodes to do. So at the moment I'm very much focused on what's the next thing I need to film, and really on just keeping the momentum going, and get it done, get it finished. Beyond that, I don't know really. I do have one friend in Second Life. I don't know if this is something I'm ever going to pursue, but she has links with in the States with what I believe is called community TV, and apparently it's a relatively straightforward thing if you've got a sponsor, but as in somebody who nominates it, to get onto community TV, which is a very intriguing idea. I mean, a completely, not in any way a commercial venture. It's not something that pays, but apparently it's possible to get broadcast, which I think is an interesting idea. She seems to think it's definitely an avenue I should pursue. I'm not sure myself, but yeah, there's potentially I might look at some festivals. I'm not massively into promotion, as you know, so we'll see. We'll see once it's finished. But I know that you'll be nagging me when that time comes.
Perhaps you ought to take Eric on as your publicity person.
Oh dear, I can't even publicize myself. But sometimes it's easier with other people. I'm very happy to see any attention that these projects get. Like, just I'd be willing. You can pay me in I don't know, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or something.
In sequels, yeah. I mean, it was Eric who identified the Supernova festival for Stonewall. I think the thing is with that, I mean, I enjoyed the Supernova festival, but obviously one of the reasons for doing that, for entering into that, was this notion of getting Second Life Machinima a greater platform, and I'm not sure the degree to which I achieved that through Supernova. I don't know. I mean, obviously it did get an additional audience, because the people who participated in the festival, or at least some of them will have watched it. But I don't know how sizable, how considerable that audience is. So probably I'm probably more. I think this is one of the reasons why I'm interested in looking at a different format for the video. Will a 20-minute video get more engagement than a 90-minute video? But yeah, we'll see what comes along once it's done. I mean, people might hate it when it comes out. I might think, okay, fine. They might watch it up to episode 6 and then think I've tremendously let them down with the ending. Who knows?
Well, that would be a unique occurrence.
I don't know about that. Well, it seems to me these days you get all of these shows, like I think the most recent one was Game of Thrones, isn't it, where like the moment it got to the last episode and everyone then retrospectively hated on Game of Thrones because of the final episode, and I remember myself getting very fed up. I watched every episode of Lost when it came out, and I felt thoroughly let down by the ending there. So yeah, who knows? But yeah, we'll if it proves to be something that people like, then maybe we'll look at extending its audience a little bit. Yeah, that's how I felt, Rain, honestly, when the last episode of Lost and the last episode of Battle Galactica, whilst we're airing grievances about last episodes, definitely that was a raised fist in anger at Battlestar Galactica. I haven't seen Dexter. That's useful to know, Chantal, because Dexter was kind of like one of the things I was potentially going to watch at one stage, but if it's got a rubbish final episode, then yeah, I might avoid that.
Right. Well, we have reached the top of the hour.
Yes.
It's been fantastic. Thank you. It's always good to talk to you, and also to see what you're working on. That's brilliant.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Can't wait for episode 2. We'll always have you, you know that. And you'll also be coming back for Litfest with a new Avatar dining.
Yep, new Avatar Dining Club story. That's next Tuesday. So yeah, I'll
Yes.
be doing that live in voice next week. Looking forward to that.
Yes, and lots of yeah, I think we'll get some people who are here now coming along to that.
Good stuff.
And now, okay, so thank you so much. And Chantal, thank you for being there with the cues for people.
Yes, thank you, Chantal. Great. I'll see you next week.
Okay, see you next week. Have a great time at the fair.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.